So something I've recently started doing is blogging over on a brand new refreshed benkilloy.com. So not every blog makes an episode. So if you want to go over there and stay in tune with what's going on, head over to benkilloy.com, drop your email there, and I'm sending out those blogs as I write them. And today I'm going to share one of those blogs that I just posted. And that answers and poses this question: what was your relationship with love growing up? Or maybe a different take on this question could be, who was your best friend growing up? My grandmother was my first best friend growing up because she lived just at the end of our driveway. She was there every single day in my life, from the age when I was born all the way to when she passed away when I was maybe 26 or 27. She was the first one I would see when I got off the bus, the first place I went during the summer, the first place I went when I was bored. Growing up on that farm, I was isolated from the world. We were a mile from the road, I wasn't in town with friends, and trying to find my way, and it always seemed a little like a battle for me. She was always baking, sewing, or outdoors, and was always up to something interesting to help with. Now, knowing how my son asked me to help me in all the different things, and how overwhelming that can feel and that can create inside, I have a new appreciation for the patience that my grandmother had for me. She was always one to bake something if you felt sad, or offer a good distraction if something terrible happened. And growing up, her love to make a pie was equal to only the math symbol of 3.14. So you knew you could always count on it, and it was always constant. In 2018, at a dad retreat, I did a vision exercise. And in this vision exercise, I learned what she gave me was the gift of intentional love. It opened me up to the invitation of what love can bring into your life as an adult. But what if you didn't have a healthy relationship with love growing up? To break this down, I often use the famous book by Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages, but not for the reasons it was written to help you love others, but to love yourself. In my coaching framework, I identify your relationship with love, identify its patterns, and identify how you can take steps to love yourself first, and maybe even for the first time. Depending on the generational trauma you've experienced, love is one of those things that we often don't realize the relationship we have with it, and how subconsciously our behaviors are driven to meet that need. I remember this next lesson well, and I can remember looking back in the mirror in 2019 and saying, how can you unconditionally love others if you first don't unconditionally love yourself? Now, unconditional love is something that's mentioned quite often in the world of love, marriage, and life. But the pursuit of it and figuring it out is something I feel like most people don't really do. They just put it on a shelf. Now, this moment was profound me because in many ways, it was step one of 2005 in the process of healing my personal relationship with love. Because like I shared a few weeks ago, my relationship with love became twisted when I felt misunderstood by the world. And when in 6th grade, I was punched in the gut at school. Told that story just a few weeks ago in episode 192. It forced me to retreat inward from the world and express who I was. It created a need to seek externally what I couldn't feel on my own from the world. The road to self-love, self-healing, and better and more capable you is just more about learning to love the good in your life. It must be learning to love the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. Learning to find gratitude and purpose in pain helps you grow in an understanding that life has always been happening for you, not to you, your entire life. You might be feeling overwhelmed at this point. Maybe you've been listening to the podcast for a few weeks now, and you're like, man, these things we keep talking about here are pretty heavy. That's okay. Seeing things for the first time you have walked by your entire life by can be overwhelming. But now you know. So what do? The next steps you take are the most important. These steps will determine if you return to the world you had with your blinders on from what you were not seeing, or do you take another step and then another step that leads you to where you begin to lead, to love, and create a legacy of lasting change, as I dropped on last Friday. If I were to write what I want on my tombstone to say at this point in my life, at 37, it would say this: he learned to love himself unconditionally, to love the world unconditionally. Now, to learn to love yourself unconditionally so that you could learn to love the world unconditionally, that is the process that I've been going through my entire life, unconsciously knowing how it was happening for me, not to me. Because when you learn to love yourself unconditionally, you don't need something from the outside world. Everything that the world has is extra, it's bonus. So if you're ready to keep the next steps, if you've maybe been overwhelmed with what we've been talking about and you're ready to keep going, you're maybe a little bit worried that these things going on, but you don't know. It's like a fog is set in and you're like, how do I navigate this fog when it feels like I could walk in any direction and it be the wrong one? Well, something I do every single week is I open 3 coaching spots on my calendar. It's a limited availability and they usually go pretty quick. So if you are ready to take those steps, if you're ready to keep going, let me be that GPS. Let me be the GPS that, like Google in your car, will consistently get you where you want to go and always has your best interests. So you can get from where you are today to where you've always imagined your life to go. For that, head on over to benkilloy.com. There is a button in the upper right-hand corner to book your free call. Again, limited spots, 3 available. Don't spend much time waiting. Take action. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while and hesitant, let this be your reminder. Let this be the gut check maybe that you're feeling to take action on getting through and getting to that place of living from a place that you know who you are and you already are enough. That is all I have for you today. I'll be back again with you guys tomorrow.